So managing stress and anxiety in selling a home. So today I have the luxury, as do you, of interviewing Jason Schneider of Perception Academy, and he is a master trainer of Neuro-Semantics and NLP. In fact, he's the only master trainer of Neuro-Semantics here in the US. And we are in Fort Lauderdale. And let's just start off. Tell us a little bit about Neuro-Semantics, what it is, and why it's an important skill for us to know.
Sure. So Neuro-Semantics, if you break it down word for word, neuro refers to your neurology and the performances that you do when you're performing any habits or skills that you develop. And semantics refers to the meaning that you give to things. And so with Neuro-Semantics, we're able to take the things that you need to do that maybe you don't want to do so much and make them more meaningful, so you actually enjoy the things you need to do. It also allows us to take our highest meanings and values, the things that are important to us, our dreams, our goals, and to bring them down into our performances so that we can have ultimately peak performance.
Perfect. And I know we're going to get a little bit in more detail in specific examples, but I know there are some things that you could teach us that we could apply, not only in the home buying or home selling process, but also in our everyday life.
Right. So, well, one of the core skills of Neuro-Semantics is about state management. And so whatever state that you're in is going to determine what behaviors you have available to you in terms of actual behaviors, but also in terms of how you communicate and what other people pick up on from what you're communicating. And then whatever state the other person is in is going to determine how they filter your communications. So if someone's in a closed off state, it doesn't matter what you're going to tell them, your messages are not really going to get through to the best of your potential.
Right. So how do you elicit that state? How do you get into that state?
So I think the first step of getting yourself into the right state, well, that's the first step before you can get anybody else into the state, is to be able to manage your own state and get yourself into the states that you need to be in for whatever it is that you're doing. So first thing I guess would be to think about what is the activity that I have coming up and what state would be the best state for that activity. Maybe you want to be focused, maybe you want to be more energized or more relaxed, more at peace, or maybe appreciative or being of service to somebody. So really think about what's the activity that I'm going to be performing now, and then what would be the most appropriate state for me to perform at my best in that activity.
And I know we've got meta states, so a state upon the states. Can you explain a little bit more about the meta states?
Yeah, so like once you know what state that would be appropriate, because a lot of times we prepare ourselves for the things that we have coming up. So we think about, what do I need to do? I'm sure a lot of people can relate that you have a meeting or a conversation coming up the next day, and you spin in your head around and around. You're like, what if I say this, and if I say that, and how's it going to go? And sometimes we picture best case scenarios, and sometimes we have these like kind of nightmare scenarios running in our own brain, in the privacy of our own home before anything has ever happened. And so, those sorts of ideas and thoughts we run through our head get us into states. But also we can have states about our states. So sometimes we can be like afraid about a meeting that's going to be coming up tomorrow, and then we get upset at ourselves for being afraid, and then we get angry at ourselves for being upset, and then we get frustrated that we're angry at ourselves for being upset, for being afraid about a conversation that we're imagining in our head that probably won't even happen tomorrow that way anyways. And so the states that we bring to our states kind of can determine whether we get ourselves into these kind of negative, anxious, cursed, kind of really downward spirals, but also the states we bring to our states can get us into these really amazing, powerful, transcendent states that allow us to, be excited about our conversations that's going to happen tomorrow, and then be prouder of ourselves for being excited, and then appreciate our proudness, and then love that we can appreciate our proudness about our excitement about the conversations that's going to come tomorrow, and we end up in a totally different state than just being proud. We can actually transcend that and enhance it.
Right. I love it. It has really helped me transform and develop how I think about things. And then I catch myself all the time of, I'm so angry at myself for being frustrated at that. And so just the awareness of it has been really helpful.
Right. So you could be aware that you're angry, that you're frustrated. And then one of the things that actually I find is a really powerful state to have is acceptance. So, a lot of times when we're thinking about the situations that either have happened or that we imagine might happen, The unresourceful side of things, or the reality of the situation, is that a lot of times things aren't going to go exactly as we planned. In fact, the odds are that things are not going to, the one way that you want it to happen exactly is probably not the way that it's going to turn out. Just the odds are against you. So one of the best things that you can do is be able to access a state of acceptance in yourself, so that you can be angry that you're frustrated, and you can be pissed off that you're angry that you're frustrated, and you can be upset that you're pissed off that you're angry that you're frustrated, and you can just accept that you're upset, that you're angry, that you're pissed off, and you're frustrated. And when you put acceptance on top of, it doesn't matter how deep you are into a negative spiral, you can always just put acceptance on top. And as we say in neurosemantics, it kind of cuts the head off of the dragon. So you're never too deep to just accept the situation, and actually whatever emotion that you put on top of the pile will always influence and govern everything below, kind of just like a CEO governs everything below it in the hierarchy.
Right. All right, so let's apply this, because obviously selling a home can be very stressful and produce a lot of anxiety. So just giving some of the examples in the process. So I have a number of people that will say to me, I have so much to do in order to get ready to prepare my house to sell. I've got to declutter, and I've got to depersonalize, and I need to clean. And so what would be some states that you would recommend for them to help themselves?
Yeah, so the first one sounds like, well, first of all, it sounds to me like they're really good at overwhelming themselves, right? So they already are. That's the whole thing also, is that you already are putting yourself into a state. You never leave home without your state. So if one way, a strategy for overwhelming yourself, is to think of all the things you need to do, put them right in front of your face, and watch them all at the same time. It's a great way to overwhelm yourself. Typically, when people overwhelm themselves in that way, is it pushes them into a reflective state as opposed to a taking action state. And when you get a lot, like when you're really good at overwhelming yourself and you can put a lot of things on your plate at the same time, then it will even push people into an inactive state where nothing gets done. It could be even like paralyzing when you think about all those lists. Analysis paralysis, right? So one way to tackle that kind of overwhelm, one thing might be, first of all, starting with that acceptance. So yes, there are a lot of things that need to get done, and that's okay. That's the reality of the situation. Rather than getting frustrated about all of it or upset about all of it, just accept that there's a lot of things that need to get done, and that's okay. So that might be a first step. Then moving into an active state. So rather than going into reflective and like, I need to spend 12 hours just planning how I'm going to go about decluttering all these things, and then nothing gets decluttered. Rather than going into that reflective state, maybe get into an active state. It's like, I'll start anywhere, even though I don't know how it's all going to come together. Let me just take action. We'll just start with anything. And it's kind of a paradox, but when you the taking all the time to reflect and plan how you're going to go about it, it feels like action, but it's actually a pseudo action. So you could spend months, years planning, and nothing will get done. I think a lot of people can relate with that.
Are you talking to me?
Right, yeah, exactly. And I'm talking to myself, and I'm talking to every human being out there, because, well, that's just how we tend to operate. Yeah. So getting yourself to be more active and just take action, even though you don't fully understand yet, will be a great state to start to move things forward. And the surprising thing is that as you take action, little by little, that miraculously the things start to come together. So patience might be another state that you can practice.
Perfect. If we had time, I would love to go through flow states, because that's been something that's been really helpful for me. Another video.
Okay, yeah.
So another example is individuals aren't comfortable with having people walk through and tour their homes, or have open houses in their homes. So what states could somebody be in to be comfortable and not have the anxiety of having people walk through their homes?
Right. So one of the things that comes to my mind when you say that is that if someone's uncomfortable because someone's walking through their home, first of all, to recognize that it's not the person walking through their home that's making them uncomfortable. Because there are lots of people who, like, there's the whole show, I don't even know if it's a real show anymore, like MTV Cribs. Like where they would bring you into they bring a whole camera crew into a celebrity's house and show you around. And so it's like, well, maybe for you, it might be uncomfortable for someone to go around your house. There's somebody in this world who would actually love to have a camera crew go through their house. Does that make sense?
Right.
So it's not someone going through your house that's making you uncomfortable, because if somebody else can have someone go through their house and actually get amazing good feelings from it, it must not be the thing that's causing you to feel the way you feel. So the first thing that comes to my mind is that if you're uncomfortable going with someone going through your home, I would begin to explore the semantics, the meaning that you're giving to that activity.
Okay.
So like, the first question I would ask myself is, what does it mean to me that someone's going through my home? I can try it on and like imagine. So like if I imagine me being uncomfortable with someone going through my home, one of the states I might be experiencing, maybe it's exposed. So maybe people will be peering into my personal life, or maybe it might be like a perfectionistic type of thing, like, ooh, but they're gonna make a mess. If all these people come through, it's gonna make a mess.
Yeah.
Or it could be like a waste of my time. I've got important other things to do, and so if these people are going through my home, it's gonna be wasting my time. I mean, as many people as there are in the world, there's as many meanings that you could give to that activity that would cause you to either be uncomfortable and hesitant, or actually excited and thrilled about it. So I would just check in, what significance, what is the significance to me of someone walking through my home that's making me uncomfortable, and then just kind of step back from it and ask myself, is this uncomfort, is it serving me? Is this discomfort serving me to get my outcome, which is probably to move on with my life and get on with the next step of this process?
Yeah.
And so, and if not, then maybe start to brainstorm some new meanings that you could give to it. So having people go through my home, why would that be significant for you? Because I'm imagining, if you're considering it as a possibility, there's probably some important reasons why you might want to have that happen. And so start to brainstorm out some of the reasons why it would be significant, important for that to happen. And as you go through that process, don't stop. Like, I would say, give yourself at least 10 positive, significant meanings that you could give to that experience. And look through that list and maybe pick 1, 2, or 3 that you're like, oh, well, actually, this will help me to move forward in selling my home, which will allow me to maybe get some income and move on to the next thing, or whatever your reasons are. It'll probably be a much more resourceful one than, oh, but they're going to make a mess and this is taking too much time, and all the other ways that we can talk ourselves into a uncomfortable state.
Right. All right. So another state of stress and anxiety that brings people in the selling process is the negotiation. So somebody's gotten an offer and they may be offended that it's too low, and this is like their pride and joy, or they feel taken advantage of. How would you address their state in that situation?
It's a great question. We actually talked about negotiation today.
I know. I was thinking about that today.
In the training
we could
program.
we could have a whole nother session.
Negotiation course. Yeah. So negotiation is a big topic. For the example that you gave, maybe somebody kind of gave an offer that you're giving the significance, the meaning to, that maybe it's a low ball, and then personalizing it like it's an attack on me. So one good tip with negotiation is, first of all, it's always good to start with a no. It's always better to start with a no and work your way to a yes than start with a yes and work your way back to a no. So with negotiation, starting with no is a good thing. It gets you clear about what you don't want, and it gives you some filters to let you know what is acceptable, what is unacceptable. One important thing is to not take anything personal. So if someone throws a lowball number, it's not about you. If anything, it's more about them. And it may be many reasons why someone's doing that. It's nothing personal. So in the field of NLP and neurosemantics, we have a saying, there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. And so if someone gives you an offer, whatever that offer is, that's actually feedback. It's information that you can learn from and then kind of roll it over into the next round of the negotiation, the next round of discussion. So taking things personal is definitely not going to help. It's not about you, it's about them, and it's not even about them. It's just one expression and once at a time, and it's not an end state. There's always room for continuing negotiation.
Right. What, and in regards to, an offer, we always recommend that they continue to keep the ball rolling and not just a no. It's right. A no of, let's go back and reconsider this, but here's something that we can do versus, just a flat out no to an offer. You always want to keep the ball rolling.
Right.
But what's some kind of states that they could, elicit to help them through that process so they're not going through so much anxiety and stress through it?
Well, one of the states is definitely calmness, like keeping calm and cool. When we're most resourceful is when we're calm and cool. When we start to get anxious or we start to get upset or frustrated by whatever's going on inside of ourselves, inside of the world, we tend to lose access to our resourcefulness. We tend to lose access to our resources that would allow us to perform at our best. So one thing is just practice like being centered. Being centered in yourself. That would be really, really useful throughout that process.
Great. I think appreciation, too. There's many homes on the market that never get an offer, or they get a really, really low offer that's not even going to be considered. So, as you were talking, that was something that came up. Is appreciation would be.
Yeah, appreciation is one of my
something that
favorite
you're working
states.
with, yeah.
Appreciating. First of all, appreciating yourself, appreciating the other person regardless of their behaviors. Just appreciating them. Appreciating. The more we practice appreciation, this is in my experience. The more we practice appreciation, there's another type of appreciation that we like when we're talking about the home buying process is appreciation and value of our assets.
Right.
And the more appreciation that you experience, the good thing about internal states is that how good is that? I can appreciate distractions sometimes. You can bring appreciation to anything.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing, is it's not the world that causes our appreciation. Appreciation comes from the inside out. And unlike physical resources in the external world, our emotional states are infinitely abundant. So like the more you practice appreciation, the more you can practice appreciation. And appreciation is a state of wealth. So the more you practice appreciation, which is a synonym for value, you're creating value, the more value you tend to get.
Right.
So rapport, building rapport and connection with people, and appreciating just for no reason at all, just because you have that capability, usually is a very good place to be in terms of creating value.
Awesome. Well, speaking of appreciation, I really appreciate you taking the time to give us some tips. And I think even the tips that you provided, there's so many different scenarios within the home selling process that those tips could be applied to. So I know there's more that would cause stress and anxiety, but what you did provide is such valuable information to reduce the stress, and that's what we want in this one of the most stressful transactions. So thank you, Jason.
My pleasure. Really appreciate it. Hope this is valuable for everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for watching the video today. If you enjoyed and want to watch more, be sure to click subscribe and ring the bell and check out videos over here. And I look forward to seeing you next week.